Okay, we should be live right away.
I'll be sleepy now.
There we go.
Okay, calling the meeting of January 12th, 2026 to order at 5 p.m. Happy New Year to everyone out in virtual land. 2026 is going to be a great one, so let's start. The adoption of the agenda. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at it? Are there any deletions or additions?
I have no additions or deletions mentioned.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on that, please? Councillor Babelow.
I move that council adopt the agenda of the January 12, 2026 regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you. All in favor? And that is carried. Moving on to number 3, adoption of the minutes of December 15th, 2025 regular council meeting. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? If there are no changes to those minutes, would someone like to make a motion? Councillor Erickson.
I move that the council adopt the minutes of the December 15th, 2025 regular council meeting as presented.
Thank you. All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Moving on to number 4, public hearings. There are none. So we move on to number 5, delegation presentations. And today we have Stars Air Ambulance, Glenda Farndon, Senior Municipal Relations Liaison for Alberta and British Columbia. Welcome.
Thank you. Do I need to hit a button or anything for that?
It's right.
Yeah. Oh. Maybe if you don't mind, I will move to the middle because I can't see you. Okay, well, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to meet you as Mayor Shannon, as well as your new council. It's nice to see some familiar faces as well. So I'm very pleased to bring you your annual update regarding STARS and all of the nuances and the new innovations that we continue to do in order to enhance rural healthcare throughout the North. So we'll start first. This past year, December 1st, marked our 40th anniversary of STARS being in Alberta. That's a significant milestone when you think about the fact that not only providing critical care anywhere for 40 years, but also the fact that we continue to be very innovative in how we can enhance healthcare throughout the rural areas. We have flown over 63,000 missions in that 40 years. And none of this would be possible for STARS to maintain being a charitable model, no bill to the patient for 40 years. None of that would happen without partnership. Next slide, please. So also last year on April 30th, we did have the misfortune that we lost our founder, Dr. Greg Powell. And it was very devastating to our entire team because he was the most visionary leader that you have ever seen. In moving forward, next slide, please. Dr. John Fro is now our new president and CEO. And once again, we are under the leadership of a very exemplary critical care physician. He has been with STARS for 13 years. He was previously our chief medical officer for all 6 bases across Western Canada. So he is very, very intuitive and knows everything about STARS. So the perfect leader for us to move forward again under an exemplary critical care physician. Next slide, please. And so of course now the numbers are up. As far as direct operating costs, we are now at $12.2 million per base. for direct operating costs. So $36.6 million per year for 3 bases in Alberta, Grand Prairie, Edmonton, and Calgary. Of course, this represents the $15 million block funding that we receive from Alberta Health Services each year represents 41% of operational costs. So this means 59% must still be fundraised each year. Of course, a great significant part of that is our beloved Alberta Lottery. It's in its 33rd year. It is one of the most respected lotteries across Canada. And we are very fortunate that we continue to have that, and it is ongoing right now. So we hope that any of you that have been past lottery supporters have received your information and that you will continue to support us, as that pays for 1 base in Alberta. We usually net close to $12 million per year net from the lottery. So that basically pays for 1 base in Alberta. And aside from the direct operating costs as well, education and training, administration costs, and all of our highly specialized equipment on board is not covered under direct operating costs. We fundraise for all of those additional components. So we reach out to donors and corporate sector who actually provide the funding for those items. Next slide, please. And of course, we work with all chain of survival partners. So that includes from the very necessary fire departments, first responders, RCMP, and search and rescue for any scene calls. They continue to make sure that everyone is safe on the ground and that we have a safe landing zone when we are arriving for a patient. But it also does include ground EMS, fixed wing, hospitals, all of your local medical professionals. We work with everyone in order to complete a mission at some point, whether or not it's on a scene call at the side of a road or it's a critical interfacility transfer, meaning that most of the time ground ambulance may have been dispatched to deliver a patient to the nearest hospital, which would be your Peace River Hospital. But because it is of a critical nature, then STARS is called to intervene and come and get these critical patients to either get them to Grand Prairie or to Edmonton for tertiary care. STARS is also borderless. As you can see in the photo there, we have responded numerous times to multi-casualty incidents. So there's more than one helicopter response. We are borderless. Our crews and helicopters can go across all borders. So sometimes we have called in previous incidents, like say the Columbia ice fields, for example, we have called in our helicopters as well from Saskatchewan so that we could have multiple helicopters responding. We also do a lot of rendezvous on scene calls as well. Sometimes the ground ambulance is called for that call, but because the patient is starting to deteriorate rapidly, so then we will rendezvous at any given point anywhere with ground ambulance to get these patients. And we also fly at night. That's one of our key aspects. More than 20 years ago now, we were the very first organization other than military to be able to fly at night. And 50% of our calls volume is always at night. So this has been a huge advantage for us for 23, going on 24 years. Next slide, please. Thank you. Of course, this is a type of incidents that we would respond for, and the top 4 are cardiac, vehicle incident, other medical distress, which would include stroke, as well as trauma. So all the numbers, the percentages are higher now this year, again, that these type of missions that we are responding for. We are also very fortunate that we have STARS transport physicians. They are available through our Emergency Link Center in Calgary 24/7. So they make all the, back one please, yes, thank you. They make all the decisions on every critical call, regardless of the mode of transport. That patient may be going by ground ambulance or fixed wing, but if it is critical, then it's our STARS transport physicians that make all the determinations on what is the best receiving hospital, what are the needs for that patient. So we are doing so much more in the background that people do not realize. Our STARS transport physicians are scheduling the neurosurgeon, they're scheduling the cardiac cath lab. So that once that patient arrives, whether they're coming by STARS or another mode of transport, then they can go directly into trauma surgery or cardiac cath lab, the CAT scan, which is mandatory for stroke victims, these types of things, and bypass emergency. So again, we are saving precious time on both ends of every mission. Next slide, please. Also, another component now with the latest in technology is virtual care. We have been able to assist your local medical professionals right here at the Peace River Hospital through virtual care. So we may be on another mission and unable to respond physically, but it does not mean that we are not able to provide critical care, medical and procedural guidance to all of your medical physicians and nurses here at your hospital virtually. So this is again, another aspect of how we are together enhancing critical care, access to critical care, and enhancing rural healthcare by being able to have this additional component of providing medical and procedural guidance. Next slide, please. And of course, I previously to your council have always presented the fact that there is an international critical care simulation competition. And previously, STARS has, we've always held our own internal competition at each one of our 6 bases to have come out with a team of 2 at each base that would go to a central point to compete against each other, so that we have one final team of 2 that will go and have the honor of representing STARS internationally on the international stage each year. And I'm very happy to say that on October 28th of last year, the competition was in Omaha this past year, and STARS once again took first place worldwide. This is a worldwide competition. We have competed for 23 years straight. STARS crew has always placed top 3 all 23 years in the world. And this is the 9th time that our team has taken first place. We are very proud and honored to bring critical care to your residents and the highest level critical care available in Alberta. So let's have a quick look here. 15-year overview of STARS missions flown within the town of Peace River or your nearest scene calls and search and rescue that have been coded to being the nearest community is Peace River. So in your immediate area, the 160 total missions flown in the past 15 years. Now for 2025, I apologize because I was supposed to change that. It's actually 4 scene calls and 12 Peace River Hospital critical interfacility transfers for last year. Wow. 16 calls in total for last year. It's significant then in the fact that you average well over 10 missions or more each year. So last year, 16 missions, certainly more than 1 per month. So STARS is a critical asset for your area, not only for scene calls, but also through the virtual care and these other opportunities. In addition to these are just the physical scene calls or interfacility transfers. But there's additional ones that are when the STARS is not coming physically that we have also assisted your medical professionals. Thank you. So this is an update on our postal code project. So once again, you'll see the little blue outline of the MD of Peace and area, which Peace River is close proximity. So I wanted to be able to provide that to you. So residents within the Peace River area listed on the right-hand side, Grimshaw, Peace River, Berwyn, a total of 105 residents that have been flown. Now specific to Peace River, there were 70 residents that possess a Peace River postal code that were flown. But when you look at the red dots, those all identify the pickup locations where these 105 residents were at at the time that they needed stars. So 105 in total, 43 patients were picked up in Peace River. But 62 of those area residents, which can include Peace River residents, were flown from those 22 other locations where the red dots are indicated. They were not at home. Accidents and illness can happen anywhere. And so now this will be a series just to show you where we're at with our municipal funding in our municipal program that you are a part of. And so one click, please. So 95% of Alberta is in partnership. 75% are regional leaders. So now anything that you see that's going to appear as navy blue indicates that they are a part of the 75% regional leaders who are contributing at the minimum $2 per capita or higher, up to $90 per capita. One click again, please. These are provincial leaders in the teal. There are 9 provincial leaders which are providing a significant fixed rate of support. We are an annual line item in their budget each year. This year, we will welcome 4 more provincial leaders as well. So between the teal blue and the navy blue, these are all provincial and regional leaders contributing at the minimum of $2 per capita. Now you'll see the little exclamation mark in the north, the gray, that represents Peace River. So you are on the map, but showing that you are under the minimum ask of $2 per capita. One more click, please. And then this is showing you complete regional partnerships, meaning everyone that is outlined in red means that every town and village that lies within that county's borders are also a regional supporter or a regional leader within their county. So you can see in the north that we have a very staunch, united effort across the entire north. And it is starting to filter down into the southern and central areas of building regional partnerships. Together, as a regional partnership, last year we generated $2.4 million per year of the $21.6 million that must be still fundraised of that 59%. So it's not that it's it's just a united effort. Everyone is doing something, and collectively we are really offsetting the costs of what it takes in order to ensure that we have stars as an essential service to us all. Whether you're at home, you may be in Winnipeg, you still have access to stars at no cost to you if you find that you need stars. So in closing, I would like to say thank you very much for your continued partnership. We appreciate all of your previous support. Previously, you have been at a $5,000 per year fixed rate. This was as of last year, which is roughly 75 cents per capita. Previously, when I very first started working with your previous councils more than a decade ago, you were a regional leader. And we would really like to have the opportunity to work with you again and really unite the northern region. So I am asking for your kind consideration of a graduated proposal. I know that jumping to $2 per capita is a significant amount. But we have lots of other municipalities, as you've seen on the map, that are also doing the graduated proposal. So this will incrementally, we will continue to work together, but incrementally increase to where we can get you back to being a regional leader once again. So we really appreciate your kind consideration. A graduated proposal means that starting this year, we'd ask you to move to $1 per capita. And then incrementally each year, as I continue to bring you further information and we work together, that we would increase it a little by each time. So by the end of your council term, then we would be ready to be moving to a regional leader status once again with Town of Peace River. So thank you very much for your consideration. Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you very much. Does anyone have any questions? If not, I know I do.
Okay.
I'll go ahead. So when you say, you come back as a leader, you're talking $2 per capita makes you a official leader?
Original leader, which
Leader.
would be across, you know, in the navy blue, you would be joining 75% of the province.
Okay, thank you. Fort Mac, I noticed that they, on the map, they're kind of in the gray area, so are they not covered by?
We have Hero out of Fort Mac. So STARS does not do a lot. We do go there. It's very incremental because it's such a distance that they are very well equipped with response of their own fixed wing. They have Hero there, which is, it's similar to STARS, not with the critical care model, but because it is so far away that it's very minute in the fact of when STARS would actually would come there because of distance, or because, you know, they are able to fly patients out. Lots of times, you know, we have rendezvoused with them, say Lac La Biche or other areas, but then it's not coded to a Fort Mac mission per se, if we have rendezvoused in Lac La Biche.
So
or
there's
some other area.
are there equivalent organizations equivalent to STARS in Alberta other than STARS then? Is this Hero
No.
part of that or not?
No, Hero and Halo, which is in the southeastern part as well. They are helicopter EMS,
Okay,
but they are not critical care. STARS is the dedicated critical care provider in Alberta,
okay, so,
as well as Saskatchewan and Manitoba. We are the dedicated critical care.
okay, then, when do you deploy? Is it only in remote areas or what is your criteria to deploy? Like, what would have to happen for STARS to be deployed?
Okay, good question. The call would come in, let's say either directly to STARS through our emergency link center or through 911 dispatch. There is what's called a chart of call. So it's a card set that has specific questions to kind of identify certain criteria would point immediately to a STARS launch. So if you, for example, were the first to see accident in front of you and you called 911, they would ask you was it a head-on collision? That points to a direct STARS call and we would be launched. We're always simultaneously launched with ground ambulance as well, so there's always two responses coming. So if it was a head-on collision, if anyone was ejected from the vehicle, if it was a fall that's greater than, I think, 3 meters, any of these types of things point to a STARS call that we would also be launched simultaneously. Then, depending on who may arrive at the scene first, can assess the situation if it is indeed critical care, like whether it's our fire departments, first responders, ground ambulance, if they arrive first, they'll turn us around if it's not critical. Lots of times we are the first to arrive and then we can assess, and if it is critical, we will turn them around so that they will be available again. So it is very much a team effort in how each call is assessed. Once it is determined, though, even if that patient may start going by ground ambulance to the nearest hospital, but if it's critical, then that is when our STARS physicians intervene to start providing all the medical care and guidance and all the decision-making for that patient. And then if they do arrive, let's say at the Peace River Hospital and it's critical, we will be launched to come to the Peace River Hospital and rendezvous and get that patient.
Two more little ones. How many helicopters do you have in all in Alberta? Like, do you have 2 at each spot or no?
We just completed a more than $150 million capital campaign. So all new helicopters, 10 in total for Western Canada. So the breakdown is that there is 1 helicopter available at all 6 bases across Western Canada, which is Winnipeg, Regina, Saskatoon, Edmonton, Calgary, and Grand Prairie. And we also serve the eastern quarter of BC as well, from Grand Prairie and from Calgary. So 6 of those helicopters at each base. 2 helicopters that are always in mandatory maintenance for 400 and 800-hour maintenance. So those are rotating all the time. And we are rotating our helicopters across all the different bases because in order to get the most effective use out of each one. Because let's say, for example, Saskatoon, Edmonton and Calgary, they have a much higher call volume than, let's say, Grand Prairie or Regina. And so once a helicopter is at Grand Prairie and it has more hours available yet before it needs mandatory maintenance. So we will move that one to a higher area like Edmonton or Calgary. And one that's getting ready to come up will move to Grand Prairie so that we get longer longevity use out of that helicopter. So they're always rotating. And then the 2 final helicopters are the ones that are always available for any base, for anything unforeseen, any unforeseen mechanical failure, any of these types of things that may just show up. Then we have 2 that are always available to be for backup. So that's the 10 helicopters in total. We're very happy that we were able to sell off some of our VK-117s. So all of them, the proceeds were all attributed to the capital campaign. So I'm very pleased to say that all 10 helicopters are paid for, which gives us a nice long longevity to continue to serve our children and our grandchildren, as well as the fact that the final helicopter, the VK-117, which served us well for 37 years, the original one is now housed in the Aviation Museum in Calgary to celebrate our last year 40th anniversary.
And my last question is, so you said you're within borders, or you don't have borders, or you kind of alluded to that. So what about provincial borders or international? Like if somebody from Calgary would they ever be called for if something happened across the border in the States? I'm just curious to how that would work.
You know, repatriation is a little bit different. So we are a provincial service, but again, you know, we work with 3 different governments: Alberta Health Services, Saskatchewan Health, and Manitoba Health. So that's where we have the opportunity, including going into BC. We have a agreement with them. There's no basis there, but we have an agreement with them as well. So that's where I'm saying that we are borderless across Western Canada. We can bring in helicopters from other STARS bases if needed, especially in multi-casualty incidents. And also the fact that we are borderless and the fact that our crew, all of our medical crew are licensed to go and be. So if, you know, Winnipeg, all of a sudden everybody got sick and we need to have crew members from Alberta and Saskatchewan go to man that helicopter, then that's what they'll do. So they can cross all borders. They can provide critical care in all of Western Canada.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, go ahead, Councilor Ford.
Hey, we're not using that. Well, just to reiterate on what Mayor Shannon was talking about, there was, at their STARS last presentation, there was a dispatch, an incident that, STARS went into the extreme regions of northern BC to bring out a critical patient. And now I think that was from last year's presentation.
That was our longest mission in STARS history.
I remember that one. Two questions I have is when you get the 911 call and it's determined STARS is gonna fly, whether it comes out of Calgary, Edmonton, or Grand Prairie, when that call goes in, what's the response time for that crew to get on that helicopter and that helicopter in the air?
Okay.
Is it 5 minutes, 10 minutes?
Usually, how the call comes in is the fact that, you know, we always fly with 2 pilots for safety. We always fly with a critical care nurse and an advanced life support paramedic because they all have different high level expertises that they can bring to the scene of an accident. So once the call comes in, our pilots, one will go check the weather, one will, every single helicopter is on a dolly that we move with a skid steer. And so one pilot will be moving it out of the hangar and spooling up to get it ready. One pilot is checking all the weather to make sure that, you know, the weather, flight plan wherever they may go. Because sometimes if there's a bit of a storm, they may have to go around in order, but still be able to respond. The crew, the air medical crew are always on the radio, then getting as much patient information as possible, whether it's coming in from fire and rescue, whether it's coming from ground ambulance, whoever may be on scene. It could even just be an individual that we're trying to get as much patient information as we can. Sometimes if it's a very, a much larger patient, then sometimes we have the ability, if we have the right amount of medical information, that we can offload some of our equipment so that we can still accommodate a larger patient. If it's a bariatric patient, then usually because we wouldn't be able to strap them into the helicopter securely because of girth. And so then for that patient would usually go by ground ambulance, but lots of times it's our crew that may accompany that patient, whether on ground ambulance or fixed wing. That if it's a critical patient, our crew will go with that patient as well. So many different complexities going on in the background to determine what is needed. So usually, though, when a call comes in, to get back to your question, we strive to be out the door in 8 to 10 minutes. By the time all of that is happening, as well, you know, we have a memorandum of understanding with RCMP. So for search and rescue, while they're putting together search and rescue teams, we can be the first ones out the door. So we will start the search. Lots of times that's been very beneficial that we're able to locate that patient, because a lot of the time search and rescue also has a medical component to it when you locate whoever may be missing. So this is just another partnership, you know, with RCMP as well as, you know, local peace officers that we're able to work together. They are able to help us to have safe landings, and we are able to share information so that it's very much a team effort on the ground to save a life.
And my last question is, it's to do with the slide that shows the Town of Peace River 15-year mission report.
Yes,
So in the red, it says Peace River Hospital IFTs,
Yes.
2024, 17. So are those, is that the helicopter at the Peace River Airport lifting off 17 times?
exactly.
Okay.
Yes. So that's 17 different times that the Peace River Hospital, your medical professionals have said, we need stars because we have a critical patient that is deteriorating rapidly. So whether those patients, some may have gone back to Grand Prairie for stabilization, or some of them, we may have flown directly from here to Edmonton to one of the hospitals. So again, that's determined by the transport physicians, that they will be the ones to make that medical decision on where that patient needs to go, which hospital is the receiving hospital, what needs to be scheduled for that patient once they arrive. If they need trauma surgery, they need the cardiac cath lab, all that stuff is going on in the background, still stars related, so that we can save precious time.
So when those flights leave Peace River, has Stars, because I know we don't have a helipad at the hospital, has Stars landed at the hospital, or are they basically landing at the airport?
We are now landing at the airport. In the early years, around 2007-8, when we first had the Stars base in Grand Prairie. So we started on December 1st, 2006. So we did have an exemption with Transport Canada that we were landing at your hospital on the grassy knoll. That once that there was provisions that your ambulance bay and everything was going in, then that was stopped and canceled because it interfered with the flight paths. I don't know whether or not there's still an opportunity to work together that you could have a helipad for future. I'm working with a lot of different, communities as well that, cause it's, whether it's a 5 or 10-year plan, like it's an important aspect because it alleviates having to have extra transfers for, especially for critical patients. Extra movement of patients can be dire in many cases. It's an additional opportunity that we are not tying up your other resources. Because if there's a helipad there, we just land, get the patient and we take off, like, and other resources are not required. So call outs and things like that. So it is something that I feel would be beneficial to your community on a long-term plan, but also helicopters or helipads are very expensive as well, especially when you cut down flight paths, where we used to be able to have several different flight paths in, and now because of the other buildings that are surrounding, we do not.
I do remember that. So if you're transporting or using a ground ambulance to transport that critical patient to the airport, are you using Alberta Health Services or are you using Advanced Paramedic to do that?
That I don't, whichever is available, because lots of times, you know, and that's all through the Emergency Link Center as well, because they know where all ground ambulances are, so which is the closest one in proximity, even for scene call. And these types of things, they know we work directly with Alberta Health Services, but I wouldn't know because it depends on who is available.
Thank you.
Mr. Carr, do you have any questions?
Yeah, I just had one quick question. What is IFT?
Inter-facility transfer.
That makes sense. Thank you.
No other questions? So the procedure is, administration will bring back a report and we'll discuss it at that time and get back to you with our decision. Thank you very much for the
Absolutely.
report.
Thank you for your time. I did bring you an Allied impact report for your previous kind of contributions, as well as this is a great, the latest newsletter, which has a lot of the STAR's 40th anniversary history in here. So it's actually a very good read. And I brought you the brand new calendar and one please to pass on to your fire department because we can't do what we do best without them.
Thank you again.
Thank you for your time.
Okay, so moving on to number 6, bylaw readings. There are none. Number 7, unfinished business. There is none. And we'll move on to 8, current business, starting number 1 with CAO Miller presenting myth-busting organizational growth.
Oh, I am happy to actually present this information and I hope that all of council found the read as interesting as we did once we put all the stuff together. So early in the local election cycle and throughout the campaign period, administration became aware of some unsubstantiated rhetoric regarding the growth and staffing levels at the town of Peace River have been significant and largely unnecessary. The candidates at the time and the community members seemed most interested in the changes in staffing levels during the last council term, 21 to 2025. Like the tail of a fisherman's catch that grows exponentially, so has the tail of the increase in number of new full-time staff funded by town of Peace River ratepayers. When it's left to circulate unchecked, rhetoric such as this creates mistrust within our community of both the council, who are responsible for budget approval, and administration, who bring forward these requests for additional resources when capacity levels are maximized and more are needed to meet new or increased service level expectations. To ensure full transparency and to make sure that truthful information is being circulated and spoken within the community, administration completed a review of the town's organizational staffing levels over the last term and analyzed the findings. So the purpose of this report and this briefing was simply to bust the myth of excessive organizational growth occurring in the town of Peace River and being funded by taxpayers. The method taken here was each year the organizational chart is prepared by and approved by the CAO and then adopted by council. For this review, administration took the 2025 organizational chart and we directly compared the position by title, or the number of positions by title and the total number of full-time and full-time equivalent employees to the 2021 organizational chart. Once we did that, then we also looked and reflected back on what major things happened in the community that would have impacted the organizational structure, which included the dissolution of the airport and then also the opening of the brand new Baytex facility. After each change in the number of positions was identified, then that change was analyzed to make sure it was valid. And we looked to see what actually caused the impact, what caused that change to be brought forward, and what was the impact to the organization, especially what impact was on the budget. So for example, some of the new full-time positions, while they're new on the organizational chart as full-time positions, they were actually previously filled by numerous casual positions. And so once we recognized operationally these positions would be better filled by full-time permanent positions, we came forward. And most often then the budget impact would be simply the cost of benefits that were now available to those staffing. So the findings of this comparison was initially, if you just look right at the organizational charts and don't do any analysis, and you look, 2025 had 77.6 full-time and full-time equivalent employees, and 2021 had 70.8. So on the surface, it looks at 6.8 new permanent employees were added. However, when you actually analyze the data and qualify it, there was actually only 2.8 full-time employees that have been added to the organizational chart during the last council term. So between October of 2021 and October of 2025, council approved the following: the addition of 2.8 new permanent full-time positions. One was legislative services manager, and then a half a position to payroll and benefits, and a half a position to taxation clerk. One park lead, minus the reduction of 0.2 FTE in community services. Then we had a 1-2-year term position, and that's largely grant funded, and that's the energy manager. So although it is a term position, it's showing up as an FTE currently on our organizational chart. And then we had 3 positions that were filled by multiple casuals to full-time permanent positions at an increased cost of benefits only. And those 3 positions were guest services representative, 1 lifeguard instructor L3, and 1 home support worker. Early in the last council term, 2021, the new council had requested a third-party organizational review. This review and subsequent report highlighted the need for additional resources in several areas, including payroll and benefits and finance. Through changes in organizational reporting and structure, realignment of some of the responsibilities in corporate services, they were able to meet their resource requirements through the addition of only 1 FTE allocated between payroll and tax. I've attached a number of reports to this briefing memo, which I hope council and members of the community will go back and re-review and reflect upon, because these reports, first is the organizational review, and then every report subsequent was the report that was presented to council at the time an addition to the organizational chart was brought forward, and it explains the rationale and the budget implications of each additional ask. So I do invite you to go and click on those links and refresh and review on the purpose and intent behind them. The addition of the legislative services manager position was a direct result of the workload resulting from the continuous changes being implemented by the government of Alberta that have far exceeded the capacity, including the new Access to Information Act. We had numerous changes to the Local Authority Selection Act, the Policing Oversight Board, for example. Those are just a few, to name a couple. The Parks Lead was funded in part through the budget that was annually allocated to fund a seasonal position. Budget impact for that position was the additional cost to expand from seasonal to permanent and then the applicable benefits. However, much of this additional cost would be recovered through reduced cost of contracted services that were being used outside of the seasonal position term. As mentioned a minute ago, the energy manager is a term position that's up to 2 years and is largely in part grant funded. The intention of the grant is to enable municipalities to engage expertise in energy use to identify areas of improvement where costs can be reduced or the environmental impact. And once that data is collected, it will then be used to support green energy grant applications for the implementation of operational savings, cost-saving projects. The ribbon cutting celebration and the Baytex grand opening, it occurred in October of 2019. And shortly thereafter, with COVID, the facility was closed. On reopening, and for the first couple of years, being a brand new facility, we really had no idea what the operational staffing requirements would be. So much of the positions, being a new facility, were brought on gradually and were initially filled with casual staff till we could get an understanding of the community's use of the facility and what the requirements would be for staffing. And so now that the facility has only been opened again 2022, so have we had 3 full years of operation or not quite? Maybe, I think it's 2022. I think we may, I'm not even exactly sure if we have 3 full years of operational data yet. Close to it, it would be, because as well, even if we open post-COVID, not everybody's behaviors were back to normal immediately. So some of us actually took a year or so to feel comfortable leaving our homes and doing things. And we may find more organizational changes may be required as we move forward and we really get the facility in more details. Where are we? So 2 of the additional recreational staffing levels, and again, they were shifted. We had people shifted from casual in the pool to permanent staff. And again, all of those casuals to permanent staff, incremental changes would just be benefit costs. The home care position that became permanent full-time, it falls under FCSS, Family Community Support Services. And that program is provincially funded at 80%. This full-time position again was filled and being served by casual employees, and the budget allocation shifted from casual pool to permanent staff, with an additional cost being only 20% of benefits. Sorry, I have a mistake there, because the government pays, the program pays 80%. So we would have had to fund 20% of the benefit cost. And then lastly, originally the Director of Protective Services was created through a reclassification of one of our CPO positions, with the budget impact originally being salary and benefit cost differential between the positions. But in 2025, the second CPO position was reinstated. So budget impact in that case, however, is largely offset through increased fine revenue, reduced cost of crime and social disorder in the community, and much of that is financially unquantifiable. So again, there's the various requests for decisions attached to the report. We did also have a small change in 0.6 FTE due to attrition, which was just allocated elsewhere within the organizational chart. So while in conclusion, while on the face, it may appear that the town grew by 6.8 staff over 4 years term, when you actually analyze and quantify the positions in terms of budgetary impacts and conversion of actual positions, it's actually only 2.8, and actually budgetary impacts would be less than that because some of it's funded elsewhere. This type of exercise is important and demonstrates council and administration's creativity and sensitivity to adding staff to improve operational effectiveness and move forward council's priorities and initiatives while being mindful to the budgetary increases. And then if you walk through the charts there, you will see every position. So you will see administration has the one position, for ledge services. If the positions are close together and their grade is simply, it was not a new person, it was just a reclassification of the name or whatever. So one time we had a GIS technician, the next time we had a engineering training, but just swapping out. So I highlighted all those ones that were basically canceled each other. They just either elevated the title or changed the title. And that would be everything. Thank you.
Thank you, CAO Miller. Are there any questions? Councillor Carr, do you have any questions online? Okay, so will someone want to make a motion to accept the report for information? Councillor Erickson,
I make the motion that council adopt the minutes. I'm sorry, wrong one. I make the motion that council accept the briefing note regarding the organizational growth myth busting for information.
thank you. All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Moving on to number 2,
Excuse me, Mayor Shannon, can you ask for all opposed, please? Because
Oh, I'm sorry.
Deputy Mayor didn't vote.
all opposed to the motion? Brad, did you vote in favor? Okay, thank you. Moving on to number 2. 2025 Certificate of Recognition, Core Audit Results with Ms. Guidon.
Evening, Madam Mayor and Council. I'm presenting a briefing note on the Certificate of Recognition, the core audit results. So in Alberta, the Certificate of Recognition is a government issued accreditation for employers with strong health and safety programs. It means that we meet provincial standards, our systems are audited, and that our systems are effective. This is part of being proactively managing our risk and helps reduce workplace injuries and makes companies eligible for WCB rebates. Each year, in order for us to maintain our core, we must conduct and pass a peer audit of our health and safety program. The first 2 years are internal audits, so we have trained auditors on staff who will audit our systems internally. And then in the 3rd year, an external group comes in and audits our health and safety systems. This year, Slave Lake conducted our external audit, and our auditors went to County of Lac Saint Anne and did the audit for them. The audits are then submitted to AMSA, which is the Alberta Municipal Health and Safety Association, to confirm the results. A score of 80% or higher is considered a pass, and that is required to maintain the core status. Following the completion of the audit, we must submit an action plan indicating how we will improve in areas where we did not pass. And then next year for the audit, the action plan will be validated by the auditors that year. There are 10 elements that they look at during the audit. From leadership to inspections to emergency response to training and qualifications. They look at the whole health and safety system from start to finish. Over the past few years, the town's health and safety coordinator has brought forward changes to our health and safety program, including implementation of an electronic safety system to make reporting easier and emphasizing measures such as near miss reporting and root cause analysis so that we can improve our safety programs. This has improved our documentation of our health and safety program. If you don't have it documented, we can't prove that we actually have the program. In September 2025, the external auditors from Slave Lake interviewed employees, reviewed health and safety documentation, and performed inspections. They finished their follow-up work in November, and we were notified that we successfully passed the 2025 core audit with an overall mark of 84%. And by successfully maintaining our core certification, we are estimating that we will receive a WCB premium refund of a little over $28,800 for the 2025 year, which will go back into our health and safety program. I also want to highlight that we have received additional WCB savings during 2025. We engaged the services of BCL, which is an external consulting firm specializing in WCB claims management. And they, on a contingency basis, reviewed claims submitted for possible cost reduction. And we had 2 claims overturned in 2025. So as a result of that, we received approximately $130,000 back in refunds for the town, which then, because our claims history is reduced, our reduction in our WCB premiums going forward is also reduced. So not only did we get refunds, but our premiums going forward are reduced. So for 2026, the industry rate for municipalities is 3.01 for every $100 in assessable earnings. We're paying only $1.20, which is a 60% reduction of the industry rate. That is the maximum reduction possible on our WCB rate. So the core audit is, and successfully passing the core audit is a significant portion of our health and safety program, and it's good for our employees, it's good for us, and we're receiving financial benefit as a result of it. I did attach the chart that WCB prepared for us for the 2026 employer rate summary. And I just want to highlight that the 2025 assessable earnings history, that is still the estimate that we provide at the beginning of the year. We won't have the actual number until we file the WCB return at the end of February. And there is a chart with the purple bars, and for somebody who pays a premium on their WCB because they have more claims history, they would be at 341,000 in WCB premiums, but we are estimated to be at 85 because we have maximized the reduction in our premiums. So there's a significant swing between having a strong reduction in our rate versus being charged a surcharge because our claims history is significant. So, any questions?
No questions? Councillor Carr? No? I have one. I'm not sure if it applies to this or not. So the core audit, so Peace River does the core audit. I know Councillor Douce that you have taken the core audit through your company. So does the town of Peace River only hire people that have the core?
No, we have 3 core auditors, 2 of whom passed the training through AMSA back in, I want to say 2023. It was right around the time I started here. So it is a training to become a core auditor that is available through AMSA, and we have 3 who have taken and successfully completed the training.
Thank you. Counselor, or sorry, Director Fisher.
Yeah, I jump in. I think there was a misunderstanding on the question you were asking, and the response you got there. So generally, in terms of hiring contractors for doing our work, we do try, especially in market sectors where we're dealing with lots of volume of work or higher risk work, where we do try and maintain hiring only core contractors or core certified contractors, because it's a lot easier for us to manage. When they don't have the core, it typically requires us to be more involved in their operations while they're working for us. And it kind of defeats the purpose of hiring a contractor sometimes. If I've got to sit there and audit their safety program and treat them as employees, it's not always beneficial for us. So where we're dealing with high risk work or high volume work, we definitely try to maintain core. Where we're getting grant money, where we're assigning prime contractor, where we're dealing with any of our capital projects, we're generally, unless we put it out there and can't find anybody who doesn't have it, trying to hire them for.
Yeah,
On that note, I just wanted to add something that there's core, there's also a level called C core. I don't know what the acronym is, but it's for small organizations because there is quite a cost to having a core program. And so for some time, it was maybe eliminating some. So we have absolutely, since I came anyways, we've opened it up to C core. So as long as you have a safety program that's recognized and audited by WCB, then you're not limited. You could be a sole proprietor and have your C Corp and we're good to go.
and the C Corps would be less costly than the core itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So, sorry, I say core, but I do mean core, C core, or if you're in the process of going through the certification process and you might not have, like if you're a contractor, you don't have enough, they actually do something, I think it's a temporary letter of certification or authorization. I can never remember if it's TLC or TLA. So certainly, we do expand. I use it kind of interchangeably, but we do accept kind of all 3 of those. If you're from out of province and you don't have an Alberta core, you could go and get the temporary letter. Typically it's a really easy process. You submit your documentation to them, you just wait for the permanent thing to come in. The core is typically for employers that have more than, I believe, 10 employees. And then if you've got between sort of 1 and 10, you would use a C core, and it's less stringent. So the core would have like the full gamut of program elements, and the C core will have probably, I think it's like 50% of them, 40% of them that you have to comply with as a small employer.
I have something else to say.
Go ahead.
Sorry. I just have to be important to mention that WCB calculates their rates on 3 years of history as well. So if there is some incident, that 340,000 that we saw where premiums could have been, that high cost, like any insurance, right? It's insurance. And so you pay, if you have an incident, you have a claim, that high cost carries forward for 3 years worth of claim period too. So just want to just kind of plant that seed so we're aware why we are so safety oriented and why we work really hard. Because again, 1% increase to our municipal requisition. Last year, our municipal requisition was 12.5 million. So 1% to our municipal requisition, we've saved that over 1 year of 830,000. So it's just really, it's really important that not only that we all want to go home to our loved ones at the end of the night with all the parts that we came to work with. Financially, it's critical that we pay attention to this stuff because it significantly can impact our budgets and our annual costs.
Thank you. Are there any more questions? If there are none, would someone like to make a Councillor Hughes.
I would move that council accept the briefing note regarding the 2025 core audit results for information.
All those in favor of the motion? Carried. And moving on to number 3 with Director Bell, Navigation Center pop-up.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wanted to bring forward to council this evening a little bit of information related to a unique pilot project that we're bringing to Peace River in light of some of the conversations that have been happening via social media in our community, related not necessarily directly to our unsheltered individuals, but this has an opportunity for some assistance to those individuals and others in the community that may be struggling with access to critical services and programs. We do have a very geographically laid out community, and it can be access to services and programs and agencies can be a bit of a challenge. Navigation centers have been set up in the city of Edmonton, city of Calgary by the province of Alberta. And this program, this pilot project is mirrored off of their program and potentially even an opportunity, I'm hoping in the future, for some funding support from the province as we hopefully bring this back more than once a year. This could be a little bit more ongoing, not an everyday program, but quarterly, whatever that might look like in the future. It was piloted by Wetaskiwin, RCMP, and FCSS. Wetaskiwin FCSS program, they used the navigation center concept and did a pop-up version in Wetaskiwin. Wetaskiwin is struggling significantly with a large unhoused population and focused some efforts on the preventative services of trying to bring those critical agencies, programs, and services under one roof. It's sort of a one-stop shop idea, and to help people with their needs right then and there. We see this quite often where an individual will come to our office, they're looking for a service, then we refer them to XYZ office, and then they're sent somewhere else to another different office for another service. So the intent is hopefully we can capture as much as possible under one roof in one period of time, and individuals who are looking for some critical services would be able to come to that location and receive those services in real time. They don't have to wait, they don't have to make an appointment, that kind of thing. We are also offering transportation to the location to again assist and reduce a barrier that can be a barrier in the community as you're being bumped around from location to location. I provided you with the organizing committee, our FCSS. Our programmer, Tamara Brunham, is taking the lead on this. The RCMP's local staff sergeant is heavily involved. Sagtow Friendship Center is not just the location, but they're also a partner in the development of this. Primary Care Alberta, Health Promotion, Peace River Restorative Justice, and the Western Alberta Regional Victim Serving Society. Ooh, it's a long, it was Victim Services previously. And then we have our listing of participating agencies is provided to you for your information. In addition to the promotional advertising that we're doing for this. So I would encourage members of council, if you do hear or are in contact with any individuals that are looking for services and are struggling, this could be an opportunity for some help for them, again, in real time in one place. May not work perfectly for everybody this day, but we're going to give it a try, see how it goes, and the committee will reevaluate and see if there's another opportunity in the future of another date to just keep providing the opportunity. I think that's a critical piece.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Director Bell? I have one.
Yes.
How did it come about? Then it indicates here that the staff sergeant brought the concept forward to the town, and then did the town then reach out to other organizations, or did you spearhead this?
Yes, and yes, and yes.
Okay.
So,
I'll just tell you my second half of the question.
okay, go right ahead.
My second, part of the question is, what is the cost of to the town of Peace River for the, pilot project?
Right, this again.
Yeah.
The staff sergeant brought the request forward. Actually, at the time, I believe she was going to ask council for a letter of support to make an application to the province. And when we heard about this, I sort of said, letter of support for what? We could do this with or without provincial involvement. So we spearheaded the first initial conversation with the staff sergeant through my FCSS programmer, Ms. Brunham. And then together, Staff Sergeant Blair and Ms. Brunham went ahead and reached out to some critical agencies to put together the steering committee. In terms of cost, it's fairly minimal. Some snacks, beverages, I believe there's some printing costs. I believe they might have a few handouts. They're looking at, don't quote me on this, but now it's in camera, so, or it's being taped, so I could be incorrect. They were looking at some sort of a giveaway, first aid kits, something along those lines. So a few $1,000 at the very most.
And how often do you see this happening, like holding this kind of a session?
I'm not sure. That really will depend on agency involvement and if the agencies buy into the concept, the critical agencies that you need at the table to make it happen. And see if they see the value. And that's gonna be the critical piece. One-off this is intended to be a first start, not just a one-off. Hoping to do this a few more times, and maybe it'll be timing throughout the year that we need to figure out when is a critical time to offer something like this. So the committee will do that evaluation after their first go and see how it rolls out and anything else they'd like to adjust and change going forward.
They have been very successful in the cities. I know,
Yes,
I've heard, reports on that it has been very effective.
very effective. When we were down for a conference at the end of November in Edmonton, Tamara went to the Edmonton Navigation Center and one of my other staff with her and did a full tour of it to get a full understanding of the entire concept, what was offered, what services were in place, critical agencies. So that really gave us a good insight into what this potentially could look like in Peace River. So yeah, fingers crossed that we're able to help some folks that come out on the day of.
Oh, it's a good idea. Okay, well, thank you. Any other questions?
I have one.
Interested in making a motion to this?
I have a question, Mayor Mayor Shannon, I have a question. Is this specific to the unhoused?
No, it definitely has been a focus of the, I think the foundation of the navigation centers in the two cities. But with Tasquin's experience was they threw it open to anyone and everyone. So we are definitely targeting the unhoused, but it's open to all community members that are looking for any critical services. And
Okay.
any age too. Want to make sure seniors, young adults, anyone.
Low income, anybody?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Fantastic, thank you.
you're welcome.
Would you like to add a motion to that, Councillor Carr?
I would be willing to move, I don't have what the briefing note was called, but I'd certainly be willing to move that it be, oh gee whiz. Accepted for information, sorry.
Okay, thank you. That would be the briefing note on the navigation center pop-up.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion? And that is carried.
Yes.
We move on to number 4 with Director Fisher, the offsite levy policy.
Good evening, council. So I have a report in front of you, basically wanting to look at the offsite levy. So the report itself includes the offsite levy bylaw, just for your information, so you've got some background information. For those of you that are new at the table this year, the offsite levies are a fee that are collected at sort of the time of subdivision or the time of a new development permit application. That we use to pay for infrastructure throughout the town. So as the town grows, this allows us to capture costs or capture some funding that will help pay for costs in different areas typically. So in our model, we collect offsite levy for transportation infrastructure, water infrastructure, and sewer infrastructure. In the province of Alberta, you can also collect it for stormwater infrastructure, for paying for future police stations, future fire departments, libraries. The area that we've focused on is sort of the core. That's typically what you'll see with most offsite levy bylaws. Stormwater is often excluded because it tends to make the costs very, very expensive very, very quickly for all developers instead of just some developers. So in developing an offsite levy model, we have, we do a lot of work as administration. We basically have to build a long-term capital plan with like master planning. We have to split the community up into different catchment areas. We have to assess how growth in those areas and future growth in the community will impact our existing infrastructure, or where those, what portion would be allocated to those new developments or the growth for the capital plan. And then we have to write it into a bylaw. So it's actually quite a lot of work, and it gets boiled down to like a simple number, sort of depending on where you are, this much per hectare, or this much per acre. But there's actually a lot of work that goes into creating that number. With newer offsite levy policies, ours has been around with newer offsite levy bylaws, sometimes you'll have issues where someone will go and apply for a relatively small development and get hit with a large development fee. And so we have a policy to kind of avoid that as best we can. The offsite levy policy is sort of what we're talking about tonight. We're not talking about the bylaw. We can have a conversation about the bylaw in the future. Have a lot of work to do to actually update that as a law when we get there. That still needs to be done. But in terms of the policy, the policy has a couple of key features. So there's table 2 in section 8. It outlines a number of criteria where we would not collect offsite levies for development. It includes something that for temporary, if we're replacing a building, like with some of the fires where building is burnt down, if it's replaced within a certain time frame, they wouldn't get charged an offsite levy for that replacement. Altering industrial buildings or industrial zones. So there's a number of different criteria where we wouldn't collect offsite levy. And then there's also a section that deals with deferred payment terms for offsite levy. So because sometimes on some of these larger developments, the offsite levy fee can be quite big, especially if we're talking about a housing neighborhood or anything like that. So we have the ability through the policy to extend longer payment terms for developers. So there's sort of 2 thresholds that currently exist between $10,000 and $250,000 worth of offsite levy fee, where we can offer up to a 2-year term. And then we have a longer section, so anything more than $250,000 offsite levies, which is typically a very large development. We can offer up to 5 years for them to pay currently. One of the pieces of feedback that we have received as administration is the lower end of that threshold, that 10,000. It's probably still a little bit high for some scenarios. I think the argument would be that some of your smaller developments, your smaller developers certainly are going to disproportionately feel the impacts of a $10,000 offsite levy fee versus a very large developer that's doing a subdivision. It's cash strapped, it's cash flow, but they're less likely to feel the pinch of that offsite levy. So if one of the pieces of feedback we had would be lowering that threshold in the first deferral payment or deferral option from 10,000 to say 2,500 or something like that. There's still some work that is required for us to do a deferral. We have to enter into agreements. We have to register it on time. So there is some administrative work. I think the right number is around the $2,500 mark personally, but that would be kind of up to you guys. And I guess I would open it up to council and ask, are there areas where you want to see us look at possibly making changes to the offsite levy policy? Or are there areas where you'd like us to bring you some additional information for some proposed changes? Will be my two kind of questions, I guess.
Okay, so does anybody have any questions or suggestions, recommendations? Starting with Councilor Bruce.
I just have one question. How do we stack up to other communities roughly of our size as far as offsite levies go, dollar amount wise?
I think it's going to run a range. I would have to go back and pull up some specific information. My gut says that we're low. I certainly know, like, compared to the previous community I was working in, we're probably about half of what we had for an offsite levy there. We also have a lot more development happening here than in that previous community. So I think that says something a little bit. And certainly as you get closer to the Edmonton center, like central Alberta, those offsite levies get quite large. I believe around Parkland or Acheson, it was around, like, and it varies depending on your catchment, but around $100,000, $130,000 is sort of what I had in my memory bank for around like Parkland County sort of area. And then Edmonton can be quite expensive depending on where you are. But the last number I heard was in the 400s. The number I had in my head before that, they have gone through like an extensive exercise of reducing costs, was up around 600 for some of the stuff in South Edmonton. So it really depends. I feel like ours are probably appropriately sized, and I think you have to build a plan based on this is where we're going to grow. This is the infrastructure we're going to need, and the numbers just have to be the numbers. This is the way that I think that it has to go, rather than trying to compare. Because like it's certainly going to cost us more to do water infrastructure here in Peace River, where we've got steep embankments, we've got lots of different kinds of geotechnical than you would in a space where you only have groundwater and it's flat, right?
Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions? I thought I saw Councillor Carr's hand up, but he has disappeared, so we'll move on to Councillor Battles.
Yeah, my question will be under the table 2, which is the triggers, right? So 8.8 says like with a new structure or like replacement within 3 years. Why do we have that cap of 3 years?
I think it's to try and force some of these abandoned properties to do something, right? There's a financial incentive if they can turn it around, or especially we're talking about where these fires are. If they had to rebuild, the quicker they do that, the better it is for the community. So that it incentivizes a quick turnaround on some of these issues where they can. And I think in a community where we're dealing with a number of properties that have been kind of left to fester, for lack of a better word, I don't know that we would want to take away that limit, right?
I think it would be a good idea to take it away. There may be other ways where we can force them or kind of encourage them to rebuild whatever is torn down. But using offsite levy, I think it's not fair because they pay towards the development. Like for example, the road is not changing, the water is not changing, electricity is not changing, right? Except if you're replacing with a more demanding structure. Or if it's the same structure like residential single house only, replacing a single house then it will not be fair to kind of collect another offsite because they paid it forward already. That's my opinion.
My question to that would be, how far back do you want to go? If a property sits there vacant for 10 years, do we really want to go back into a file and say, okay, well, this exact same footprint you had, let's go ahead or not? I think that there does practically need to be a limit there.
Otherwise, there will be other areas where we can penalize them for keeping a place like vacant, if it's not supposed to be vacant. Maybe like spot assessment increase or something, but there will be another way in having it from that perspective. I don't feel like it's not good.
Thank you, Councillor Carr. Do you have a question? Your hand is up.
Exemptions.
We might be having some audio technical difficulties.
Okay, anyone else have any questions? Mr. Ford?
What, I won't use this mic because it buzzes, but mine wasn't really a question, but you were asking for some possible ideas. And one thing that I would like to see is, like, I know Director Fisher talked about the bylaw. He's got some work to do on that before it comes. But I would actually like to see the policy and the bylaw come back to a future GNP meeting where there's less topics on the agenda. We can delve into this a little bit more. More of a learning curve, I guess.
I would actually agree with that to some extent. I did read it, got so far, and there's just so much I didn't know, but I would like to add one thing. My problem with this offsite levy policy is not really in the numbers, but we could look at that as well. My problem is on when it's payable. You have to, if there's a big developer coming in, doing a sizable development and has to worry about a $5-10 million levy at the time he's building, that would be a hindrance to him. I would more like to see it payable on occupancy or sale of their development or portions of their development. Is there something like that that could be discussed and worked out in this?
Yeah, I think that's, the second tier includes linking the payment terms to occupancy, and there is a maximum like 5 years, right? Like, we don't wanna approve it, have somebody build it, and then not ever be able to collect it, right? So I think there's a limit in there, but I believe that we've covered that in the second tier for especially for those ones that are more than $250,000 of levy.
Okay, if there are no other questions, does someone want to make a motion? Councillor Ford?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My motion would be to direct administration to bring the policy forward to a GMP meeting for more in-depth discussion.
Okay, with that motion on the floor, any other discussion on this? If not, all those in favor of the motion? Councillor Coruscant again, that is carried.
Keep from coming in and out.
We can move over to number 5, which is the snow dump use policy, also with Director Fisher.
This one's a little bit more timely. I don't know if you guys have been around. There's kind of a lot of snow there. Some of it's melting, yeah. It's causing all kinds of different related problems. But so some of our commercial areas are running out of space to store snow on their sites as well. And you know, we have a very large mountain of snow at our Baytex parking lot. We had 2 before the new year, and we got one kind of taken care of. And that's just one parking lot. There's a lot of businesses on the West Hill that have been calling and asking. We have the ability to allow contractors to use our snow dump to receive snow in the bylaw that exists attached for your reference. But we actually don't have a policy about like what an authorized user, like how to determine what an authorized user is. So before you use a policy, we kind of to formalize that, to say some of a little bit of back and forth. It's a draft version for discussion. Basically, the intent would be that we would issue, from my department, a letter of authorization to anybody that kind of met the eligibility criteria. And the letter of authorization would include, a number of conditions for use on the snow dome. The eligibility criteria is less than we would typically require for like hiring our own contractor because they're not working for us. They're just using our facility. So I've proposed sort of a $3 million insurance requirement, a WCD requirement. For any of their workers, I've asked that they're for a commercial entity in Peace River, so somebody who has a business license to run this, or doing this as a commercial enterprise. Because it just makes it easier for them to meet the requirements itself. And then, those are kind of like the big three, for eligibility. I'd ask them to provide the listed vehicles that they're gonna use to haul to the snow dome. And those would be the vehicles that are authorized to use a snow dump. That's a matter of practicality, so that when my staff are there and they say, hey, we saw this truck come in and out, whose truck was that? We know that they're allowed or they're not allowed. And from an enforcement point of view, it's something that we would have to track. I've asked in their conditions for use that they would check into us, that we have the ability to restrict use temporarily, if operating conditions warrant. So if we were having some congestion at the snow dump and it was impacting our ability to get snow off the streets, we'd say, hey, can you guys pause for like a week, and then so we can get our stuff caught up, and then you guys can go in. Or later this week, we'll kind of racing against the clock here. I'm hoping that we'll still be able to access the snow dump, and it doesn't get all fluffy and mushy by the end of the week here, before it starts to freeze again. But that, like, we might say, hey, just because we can't access it safely, we're gonna temporarily stop your use till we can get it reestablished, cleaned up, and come back. Permanent ability to restrict use if somebody is using the facility or abusing it. And just some general stuff there. So that's the really highlights of the policy. It's really simple. I just wanted a way to codify. This is what you need to do to use our facility. I'm not proposing any fees right now for use. It's something that we could look at in the future. I think we would want to, if we wanted to. It's not uncommon to see that. Shannon, I see you give me a look. Like in some of the bigger centers, because these cost money to maintain and use and monitor, certainly as you get bigger. But right now, I was just like making it available so that our commercial entities have space to get rid of them. That's the big stuff. I'll be looking for some feedback if you guys feel like there's some changes that should be made, or if you guys feel comfortable adopting it. But this is the criteria, like the draft criteria that I'm using.
Okay, open up for questions. Go ahead, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good idea. My only thoughts were just to be more specific, like, would we track the current companies that work for us? Do we track their insurance yearly? Would this authorization letter have to be renewed every year?
I think we would do it annually for the authorization letter. I don't have that in there, so that's a good question.
I mean, stipulate that it's annually and they have to prove their insurance.
Yeah, and we do get all of this information from our contractors annually, so that we start gathering in around August. And, you know, as it gets busier, some of the stragglers come in, but we have our core contractors typically by August, September, like that. The intent would be annually, certainly not restricting it, like if somebody wanted to come in. I think the big thing is, this is town Peace River facility. We really don't want to see snow coming in. We got enough of our own snow. We don't need to be importing it from other communities right now. Yeah.
Councilor Ford?
So when you're talking about snow dump facility, you're specifically speaking about the one on the north end?
Right now, yeah.
Okay, what about the other two that are currently being used? They're not authorized.
I'm only using one other. And
What about the one on Weberville?
that's the only, I'm using the north one and that one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's another one I don't know about it.
No, I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, no, and it is an environmentally regulated thing. So I am willing to, for our own operations, because I know where it's coming from, and I know that my contractors are reporting the issues as they're having them and deal with them. I'm a lot more comfortable using that space, the Weberville one, the one in the West End, for our own operations right now. Not opening it up to the public, I prefer the public over the one in North End where I have the registration for it.
So when you're talking about allowing people to use the facility, so for instance, XYJ grocery parking lot hires a contractor to clean the snow out of their parking lot, so it'd be the contractor that would be the one that would haul over to that, like if they're removing from the parking lot.
Correct, yeah, and the intent is like, there are fewer people that I have to authorize that way, right? I don't have to authorize every individual business.
Yeah.
To use our snow dump. I can authorize a couple of the key contractors, and I think when you actually go down to it, like, there's only gonna be 6 or 7 contractors that are doing the bulk of the snow removal that aren't already hired by me. Right? And certainly, there's a number of those commercial entities that are using the same contractors that I'm hiring, so they're already using our facilities.
Okay, and the reason why I ask is I've seen contractors that we use that are doing private work, but they're going up Weberville, so that's why the questions.
Yeah, and we've talked to them, but they are using our facilities and they're still in touch with our operations.
Oh, good, okay.
Go ahead, Councillor Deuce.
Just one question about the general liability insurance limit of $3 million. Most commercial entities have a $2 million limit or $2 million of liability insurance unless they're working for a municipality. Is there any particular reason that you chose $3 million instead of the industry standard of 2?
2 is reasonable. I just needed a number, right? So for our own contracted services, I'm using 5, right? So lots of them, because that's our standard requirement is typically 5 for construction stuff. But it just seemed less. So I'm not hung up 1 million, 2 million or 3 million. 2 million would be reasonable. What I do need to include or make sure is included is the sudden and accidental liability extension or environmental liability extension.
I'd like to see that reduced to $2 million. General liability insurance is very expensive, especially for smaller contractors. So I'd like to see that reduced to $2 million.
So I can't help the feeling that this is another layer of bureaucracy we don't need.
This is an environmentally registered facility. I do need some aspect of control over who's dumping there.
So up to this point, have you had any, well, you obviously haven't had nothing, but up to this point, who is monitoring that over there?
Our operations staff.
There's somebody there 24/7, a camera? How are you monitoring?
No, and so there's an element here where this is gonna have to be a trust and verify scenario. So with the use, I'm asking for a report of what they're dumping and the vehicles, right? So that I have a record. But if I do have problems, then we'll be having a different conversation. So normally I would have actually an access gate. And they're quite expensive to install, especially in a space where I don't currently have power. I would have an access gate, a camera, some fixed lighting. That's like $100,000 expense, and I don't have that. So we could go that way. It will take time, and that means that it won't be available for use right now.
It just seems redundant to make a bunch of rules and then you can't enforce or you can't really have a way to track who's going in or out. And then number 2, it's snow. I mean, this year is a different, we have a lot of snow, but for coming in years ahead, if we don't have enough snow, what is the problem with anybody dumping there? Like, I guess I'm just not getting why.
What happens if somebody's vehicle breaks down and blows a hydraulic line? That's really the risk, is that there's a risk for environmental contamination on that site from the equipment. It's not specifically the snow or what. It's the equipment, if it breaks down, it pulls a hose out there. That becomes the issue, especially if it happens and it don't get reported in, it doesn't get cleaned up and it makes a mess. So if this is a legitimate holding point, then the option is that I don't make the facility available for the commercial entities, and I don't know that that makes a lot of sense, because then they're gonna have to find other facilities right now.
And have you consulted with any of these?
They've been calling, and we've gotten, like, from the list of requirements that I've given you, I've gotten lots that have given me that information already.
And so you're hearing from people about it
It's
already?
been generally acceptable. I haven't heard any complaints about the ask so far.
Well, Mr. Carr had some questions. He's not up here. Okay, any other questions? Go ahead, Mr. Erickson.
I have a question. You're making your proposal for a policy, but nothing is in writing. You go through an oral presentation here. Personally, I'd like to see something more definite so they can take a look at it rather than having a policy to all of a sudden appear.
The draft policy is attached to the report, Councilor Erickson.
My apologies.
So there should be a second page there.
Any other questions? I'll just give Councilor Erickson a minute here.
Go ahead,
Go
sorry.
ahead, you got your question answered.
Yeah, so this is page.
Okay, there are no more questions. At the end, you have a chance at the end.
Okay.
So does anyone want to make a motion, prepare to make a motion on this item? Mr. Babalola?
I move that council adopt this no dump use policy as presented.
Well, should we make the amendments?
The amendment.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I move that council adopt this no dump use policy as amended.
Amendments being.
Yeah, what's the?
Go ahead, Carol.
Apologize, I think I only caught one amendment, which was two,
There were two. There was one to make the
authorization,
annually.
a letter annual, sorry, I missed, yeah.
One for.
And then, so it'll be as amended, clarifying that the letter of or authorization letter is submitted on, or given on an annual basis. And reducing the commercial general liability insurance requirement to not less than $2 million per occurrence. Yes,
Would you guys like to adopt it right now, or would you like me to revise it and then bring it forward? Especially, Mr. Dossler is waiting in the gallery, and I think he would like to talk about this at the end of the meeting, so it'll allow me to capture any feedback
Okay.
from that as well.
Was there a
So
third
well, then
amendment,
you
something
need to
about the environmental?
That's already in there.
That's already in. Okay.
Don't have to go with that motion. We have a motion on the table.
Oh, sorry.
so do you, Councillor Babalola, do you want to just do a friendly amendment to return this to a future council meeting for further discussion?
Yeah, so in that case, we're not saying that as amended, it's just to like review and return to. Right. Okay.
Sorry.
So I'm just gonna, we're gonna say that, move that council, or move that, yeah, that council direct administration to return the snow dump use policy, to a future council, meeting to consider the proposed amendments. As discussed.
Yeah, we could do that, or just say like to reconsider it, but then administration would note the discussion and kind of make the adjustments.
So you have to adopt it
Yes.
now.
Yeah,
I'm hearing that you would like to have the policy adopted tonight as amended. Am I hearing that correctly?
no, we want administration to review and bring back.
All right.
Yeah.
Bring back amendments for more discussion.
Yeah.
It doesn't know how that's.
Move that council direct administration to bring amendments to the snow dump use policy, forward to a future council meeting for further discussion.
That's good.
Sure.
Okay. All in favor of that motion? And that is carried. Next up, number 6, council communications and social media usage with Ms. Parsons.
Thank you, Mayor Shannon, and good evening, council. So the first item we have here is seeking direction from council on a council social media policy usage and just providing some guidance on responding to email correspondence. So starting with the email correspondence, you all know that we receive quite a high volume of emails throughout any given week. And it can be difficult to understand, who's responded or whose responsibilities is to respond. Particularly when those emails are going to large groups of people, so it's being sent to all of the council and to some members of administration. And so last term, in conjunction with previous council, administration created this quick reference guide for email response protocols so that council and CAO office could refer to this when responding to emails so that it's a little bit clearer who should respond and just making sure that those emails are getting the responses when they need to. And that everyone is getting this access to the same information. So if an email comes in to an individual counselor, you would respond with a CC to all of council so that they're aware of some of the issues that are coming in. Obviously, this is a general quick reference guide. There's always exceptions to the rule and, different scenarios, but this is your general go-to for most of those emails. And I'll keep going if that's okay. And then if there's any questions on that at the end. So the next is the council social media usage policy. So it was requested by council that the idea of a council social media policy be brought forward for formal discussion. And we do have social media policies regarding staff and members of the public's participation on social media. But we don't have one specifically guiding council's use on social media like Facebook. Previously, that was covered under the council code of conduct bylaw. There was a section under there just giving council some quick guides on use of social media and expectations. But in May of 2025, code of conducts were repealed by the province, and so that bylaw no longer exists. And if council is interested in going further with implementing a council social media policy, I would advise that we get legal opinion before we move forward with that. When they repealed the code of conducts, they also added section 145(9), which says that council may not make a bylaw or resolution under this act that addresses the behavior or conduct of councillors or members of council committees who are not councillors. And so the province, when they did that, said they were doing so with the intention of bringing forward a universal council code of conduct that's implemented by the province. That has not yet come to fruition, and we don't know what that will have or what that will contain. But municipal affairs has been really clear that we're also not, that this includes creating policies, et cetera, that we can't skirt that rule by saying, oh, well, it's not a bylaw, it's just a policy, that we have to adhere to the intention of that. And so if we do want to move forward with that, I think it would be a good idea to get legal opinion whether or not such a policy would be allowable under the act. So I have attached for council's perusal just a couple council social media policies that were passed. And most of these are, I think all of them actually, sorry, are prior to that clause coming in. So municipalities just haven't pulled back their policies that govern council conduct. So these may or may not still be enforceable, but they're there for your perusal and to see what some other municipalities have done for their council social media policies. If we were to like to follow suit, but that will be if we're allowed to, and happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Go ahead.
I just have one question concerning the email responses. So I recently had someone stop me in a local restaurant who thanked me for responding to one of the emails that they sent, because I was the only one of the counselors that did. So do we have some type of checks and balance as to make sure that all of our stuff is being responded to? Because I know that was one of the biggest complaints from the community, was that we were very slow to respond to that.
I would say not a good one. It's more of a monitoring, like keeping a monitor on your emails, keeping them in conversations is a really good way, because then you can see, you know, which one has been responded to, which has something connected to it, because theoretically, if it's going to all of council, it should be a reply all, so that you would see the response and confirm that it has been responded to. And I think we have to also a little bit be setting that expectation with residents as to whether they should, if they send it to all of council, should they be expecting 7 responses? I don't think so. It should be one response from the mayor for the most part, right? Otherwise, you might be getting conflicting responses, or just, you know, too many that's just, thanks for your email. It's, and so, it's just, I guess, us getting better in our practice of doing the by all, making sure that we're monitoring our own emails and saying, oh, hey, I did see this email come up, you know, CAO Miller or Mayor Shannon, were you able to respond? So that we're making sure those are getting done. Thank you.
Councillor Ford.
Mine's just a bit of an example, but it doesn't, I guess it's similar to an email, but it's not. So I had the same thing happen to me a week ago, a week and a half ago. But it came to me on Facebook Messenger. So basically, what I ended up doing is I picked up my phone, quick phone call to the mayor. This is the issue. Do you want me to reach out? I was told yes, so I reached out by asking that individual to write a letter and or email and send it to the mayor and all of council. Now, whether that happened or not, I don't know, but that's how I ended up dealing with it.
Absolutely.
But, and on the other note, like when we're talking social media, and there again, we're talking Messenger or Facebook. The only time, this is just me, the only time I engage anybody on Facebook is if the town has already sent out or put out a post, I will share that post. If somebody starts asking questions on Facebook, won't touch it with a 10-foot pole. Because we don't govern on social media either. So.
I have a question. I'm not even sure if it belongs in this policy or not, because this is the council's policy, correct? I guess one of my inquiries would be, do we have a communication plan? Like what? Sometimes on Facebook, there's a question that you kind of wish that the communications guy for the town would see and go on there and do it, because the responses should be coming from the town Facebook page so that's more or less what I was talking about. Do we have anything like that? Like who, I noticed sometimes we do respond, sometimes we don't, like, is it situational? That's one of my questions. Do you know what I'm asking, or?
I mean, I think so. We do have the social media and digital use policy and the social media participant use policy. So it goes over a little bit generally about how we use our social media account. You know, we're not gonna do third-party advertising on our social media account. We're gonna remove any comments that are disparaging or, you know, rude, that kind of thing. And then I would say it's more of a guideline as to how, you know, responses are happening. Our comms coordinator does an awesome job at responding to comments send questions on social media. So like, we're not gonna monitor all the social media sites and start responding to questions everywhere, but on our account, we typically do. And so, yeah, I would say it's, more of a, case by case basis, kind of, you know, is this an appropriate question? Do we have an appropriate answer? Is this more of a sarcastic question, not so much looking for an answer, those kinds of things. And I mean, there's a high volume, so we're not gonna say that we're perfect and that we see every single question. If someone has a serious question, they should be emailing the town, or phoning, because, you know, you can only do so much on social media, but I think your comms coordinator does a pretty good job of covering most of them.
I think he did a wonderful job. We're very lucky to have him. I see what you're saying there. You can't see everything on there. And I agree that if we start spoon feeding the public, we're never ever gonna get an in-person inquiry. You know, and that is the best way to communicate with someone is face to face. I'm not exactly, a fan of, some of the conversations and on Facebook. I mean, that's a very easy place to get abused pretty fast. So I think, I would like to have some kind of a robust plan so that we know how we're handling things, like going forward. Okay, Councillor Ford, you're next.
Yeah, just to comment, I have seen questions come on social media directly on the Town of Peace River Facebook page. And to be honest, I do believe that our communications coordinator handles those questions perfectly. Does a very good job.
He does. Okay, any other questions on that?
I'm just curious as to what it would cost for a legal opinion.
They're not typically overly costly, depending on the lawyer, you get a couple $100, and maybe not even that. If they've had this question before, they have a quick legal opinion and they just fire it off, it takes 2 seconds, $100. The other thing is, if they come back and say we can't, it's not that we couldn't do, you know, we could do a similar guideline for council that says, you know, typically, not that it's super enforceable, but it's something that you guys kind of agree to and that you enjoy, you know, feel comfortable with, just a guide to help you manage social media. I can't see municipal affairs telling us that is a terrible decision.
I think that's fair. I think that's fair and it makes sense. Okay, so does someone want to put forward a motion? And Councillor Forsyth,
Well, make a motion that administration not seek legal advice and not take this any further. Council can agree in good faith to some guidelines for social media and email use.
Might I suggest that motion might look to direct administration to bring forward a council social media policy guideline for consideration?
Sure.
okay, the motion is on the floor. There's no more discussion on the item. All those in favor of the motion?
It's very well.
That is carried. Up next, we have the council remuneration, travel and expense policy. With, who's speaking now? Ms. Parsons, you are staying in your seat for a couple more years.
I'm staying with you for a couple more. So this one's pretty basic. It's, council had requested during our priorities workshop, that the 6-month priorities workshop, sorry, that we bring forward the remuneration policy for review and amendment. So once we go through that and administration understands, some of the changes that council would like to see, we'll bring back a revised, version for you to review. I believe administration will have a couple small housekeeping items as well, for suggestion for review, but here we're just looking to see those sections that council was hoping to have, reviewed. I know one of them was to do with the discretionary, expenses, and otherwise, if there was anything else, just please let me know.
Okay, we'll pick it up for questions. Councillor Deuce.
So the first thing that I wanted to discuss, and I will admit, I sat on the board or on the committee that drafted these policies to start with. So I'm looking particularly at 6.3, eligible and ineligible expenses. Additional expenses will be reimbursed for items related to 1, education, personal or professional development. Can we put some type of limit in there to stop ongoing monthly contributions to organizations such as Toastmasters. However, administration would like to word that.
Anything else, did you have?
No, I think that's it for right now.
I'd like to add to that. I have a problem with that, particular item that he spoke to. Now, last term, there was a situation where we had, a member of council attend Toastmasters for 2 hours a week, 4 weeks a month, 12 months a year, for as many years as you want. So that's an open-ended professional development. It has no end, no beginning, no end. Toastmasters is a wonderful, wonderful organization. I can see doing a workshop, a speech thing, something with a beginning and an end, but as far as I'm concerned, an open-ended club belonging to that and collecting money, that's guaranteed income. That's not professional development, and I don't know how we ever found it in our to approve something like that. So we need to plug that hole. I'm surprised that it was used, but we need to plug it so that it doesn't get used again. Is there anything else we think there in there?
I would agree with that.
Mhm.
Yeah, in addition to what I said, yeah.
So I'm not sure if anybody else has any other,
I,
Councillor Erickson, go ahead.
I totally agree with Mayor Shannon.
Thank you. Are there any other changes within the document or questions? Now is the time to ask, or perhaps we could ask for it to be brought back with the changes and have more discussion at that time. If, if anybody's not quite clear or didn't have I know the agenda was very long, you might. So.
It will come back with a few suggested changes from
Okay.
administration as well, and it'll be redlined. So if there's something that comes up when you're reading it again, certainly can be part of that discussion.
Okay,
It's no problem.
so if nobody has any other changes or discussion, would you care to make a motion? Oh, Mr. Forsyth.
I move that council direct administration to amend the council remuneration policy, travel and expense policy number P 11-66-C as discussed, and return amended policy to a future council meeting.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. And with Ms. Parsons again, number 8, Peace Regional Mental Health Task Force Terms of Reference and Membership.
This one, pardon me, sorry, thank you, Mayor Shelley. This one is closing off a GNP meeting motion that was passed in November 2025 to defer the discussion regarding the terms of reference and the town's membership with this task force until this council had time to interact with the task force, see how they operate and kind of get a little bit better of an understanding of that. So just to go over a little bit of the background from that meeting, the task force was put together in 2022 by a group of concerned citizens, just concerned with the mental health and addictions and the limited resources available to individuals seeking help, kind of within our region. So a presentation by the task force was given to council in April of 2022, seeking appointment of a member of council. Councils for the MD of Peace, Berwyn, Grimshaw, Northern Sunrise County, County of Northern Lights, and Peace River, all appointed members. But so ultimately, this group is quite an informal. It doesn't really have any authorities beyond being a group of concerned citizens advocating together. They're not a registered society or established by a bylaw under another municipality or anything like that. In recent times, the committee has received some feedback for what has been perceived as lack of communication to understand the task force activities and accomplishments. So, having this group of concerned citizens advocating together as a united voice on an issue is a great thing. However, council does need to be cautious as to which groups they elect to appoint a member, particularly to ad hoc committees that are not formally established. Appointing members of council gives these groups a perceived level of legitimacy that could be problematic. For example, you know, the task force has done a lot of advocacy to provincial ministers, going to the legislature to have these meetings. And while on the surface, you know, this seems really positive and doesn't quite seem problematic, it has the potential to become complex, particularly regarding, you know, liability and responsibility for the things that they're advocating for. So if the province decided to come back and, you know, provide funding for an initiative or something, it becomes quite clear that the task force doesn't actually exist. And so then, you know, who does this funding go to and who's leading this drive and all of that. So it gets into a little bit of a gray area. So recently the task force forwarded the terms of reference that they drafted to guide their operations and help with some of the expressed concerns regarding the lack of communication and transparency. So they're trying to do a little revamp. They've asked for council's approval and feedback. The terms of reference still don't formalize it. It's still an ad hoc committee. This just helps to guide their activities and operations. So from our perspective, council has 3 options. We can just maintain membership as status quo and provide our feedback on the terms of reference. You could direct administration to bring forward a report on suggested avenues to formalize the committee if that was something that they were interested in. You know, does it want to become a committee that's formalized under one of the participating municipal members and form a bylaw and become a formal committee of council? Or do we simply want to withdraw from the task force? So obviously, if we were going to go with option 3, we likely don't need to provide feedback on the terms of reference because we're no longer participating. But if we'd like to move forward with maintaining our membership, then I would seek any feedback council would have to provide to the members. And I would also look to Councillor Dews as he's our appointed member for the task force and has attended 1 or 2 meetings now, 1 meeting now. So I'd have just a little better idea of their operations and what they're looking to do.
Okay, I'll open it up for questions or comments. Perhaps we start with Councillor Duce.
So I've only been to 1 meeting and basically the general chat was around the task force terms of reference. So I don't, as of yet, have a lot of information on how things operate there. Hopefully we have another meeting on the 29th and I'll be able to learn a little bit more. I think there is still some value to be had by having someone at least attend the committee meetings, especially considering that pretty much all of our neighbors have a member sitting on the committee. So I'd like to see us still maintain a seat on it. If administration would like to recommend avenues to formalize a committee, I would be prepared to make that motion if nobody else has any objections to that. Whether or not they choose to do that will be on them, I suppose. But I do think there is still some value to be had, just information purposes. Thank you.
Councillor Ford.
I myself would like, I agree, I would like to see us maintain our seat around that table. It is a regional table. But I do hear what is being said, is especially when it comes to advocacy. Like I'm not sure who's chairing right now, but I do know in the past there was a little bit of conflict when it came to advocacy and seeing ministers on behalf of the group. Or were you doing that on behalf of your position because you were a counselor? So there's kind of a fine line there, which she had discussed about. So I'd like to see us maintain our seat there, but any advocacy, I would like to see one of the municipalities take on, because they can take that. They can take, if your group wants to, hey, we want to go see this minister because we want funding for this. Well, let that municipality do the lead on it. CC the rest of your councils and get a letter of support from the council. Rather than having the ad hoc committee do the drive, it should be one of the municipality members be the driver.
So I have a question. If this is changed into legitimate committee or a formal committee. What was the committee then? Like, is it, like, I don't know if I wanna see Peace River take the lead on that committee, but I wouldn't be opposed to it being made formal and being a part of it, but I'm not sure if I'd want Peace River to have the handle on that, the lead on that.
In my perspective, that would be a discussion for the task force to have, and our member would come forward and say, you know, we're kind of interested in seeing this committee formalized. Peace River isn't quite prepared to take that on, but is there another municipal member in this group who's willing to undertake that work and come up with the bylaw? And it's not even that we couldn't assist in, you know, that the municipalities as members can assist in that creation and formalization, but one of the other partner municipalities would have to be willing to take that on underneath them.
Because without that formality, there's a lot of things that we can't ask for, that we can't really. Yeah, it makes a difference. It does make a difference to the committee. And yeah, I'm not in favor of it remaining informal, because then they have all control over, you know, their transparency and all that. We've had an issue. So we'd like it to see that rectified. Councillor Deuce.
So yeah, when we were discussing this at the last meeting, they are very open to asking for input from other committees. That's what the whole meeting was about, or other councils, I should say. That's what the whole committee was about. There were some questions about eligibility, like should they put only members from the area, the region, is part of this. So there's lots of things that they're open to. Yeah, I think they're just looking for some suggestions on how to make it more legitimate. So a big part that I'm kind of curious about is all of their information is in closed session. So they share some very personal stuff. So it's very hard to relay that back to a council when everything is done in closed session. So I'm not exactly sure how that's going to operate going forward, but you know, I'm certain that I could take some suggestions to them from administration and council if you guys have any. Thank you.
Any other, Councillor Ford.
So the meeting that you attended then, how much of that meeting was in closed session?
Pretty much the whole thing. So they don't have anything that's public. They print minutes, but some of the minutes are redacted based on what RCMP says, just based on information that is shared around the table.
Okay, does anybody have a motion they'd like to put on the floor for this, or do you have any suggestions how to handle this one?
So, I mean, a little bit of varying feedback, we could have, that council moves that, you know, the town of Peace River maintain membership on the, Peace Regional Mental Health Task Force. And, that, you know, council representative bring forward a suggestion, to formalize the task force by, you know, formalization of the task force by another member of municipality. We also have Councillor Ford's, suggestion of revising the terms of reference to have advocacy being contemplated by a municipal member as opposed to being brought forward by the task force. So a couple of different avenues we could take. I would say that the terms of reference become less important if we're going to suggest the formalization of the task force, simply because then, you know, a bylaw would take over. It would probably contain a lot of that terms of reference information. The committee would have to go under a revamp. It wouldn't be all in closed session anymore. We would have to get a little bit better at, you know, managing what topics can be in open and what topics have to be in closed, and kind of dealing with that. But that would come with a municipal bylaw and following whichever municipality were to take it over, their procedural bylaw, and, you know, when items go in closed and open and things like that. So it would be a learning curve, but that is doable.
So, if we did it that way, we would still belong to it, even though it isn't formalized. We still want to belong to it, even though it's not formalized and took 100% in closed session. Just want to make sure everybody understands when we're making the motion. Councillor Ford.
Yeah, another question for Councillor Hughes. Can you give, without breaking any rules, can you give council an idea of what these in-camera discussions are about without getting into specifics of a case?
Well, I will point out that the only thing that they talked about was the pop-up thing and the terms of reference. It was a very short meeting, it was only about 40 minutes. It was basically just the end of the year wrap up. So I'm not exactly sure what types of things they'll be talking about. One thing that I do want clarification on is if their information is in closed session, am I able to talk to council in closed session about that? I would suspect maybe, I don't know how that all works, depending on how they like to do things, I suppose.
I know the former chair did not. When, like last term, he did not.
Theo Miller, did you want to speak?
Sure, thank you, Mayor Shannon. I'm struck by the question, what holds an unofficial group of people to close session? Like when you're in council, you take an oath and then we're followed and we're governed by the MGA, right? And other things, but here you just have a random group of people who say they're going in closed session. So when you have a formal committee and it's established by bylaw, and then the bylaw says you're followed by the procedures of the council meeting or whatever, then there's something you can hold to somebody. If it's closed, it comes out of closed, and you can prove it's closed, there's some legal ramifications. But I struggle, just personally, what holds everybody to that, I speak nothing outside of this room, because there's nothing formal there. And I share the same concerns about liability. They make some commitment and there's people on there that could come back liability otherwise because we are appointing.
Councillor Deuce?
The only thing I'll mention about that is just the comment about them being random people. These are elected officials sitting there, so I think their integrity as council members from other municipalities would bear some.
My mistake, not random, they are professionals, but they are not just council members.
True.
I believe there's other members
Yeah.
of different committees and organizations that aren't held perhaps to the same standard.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, according to the chart, there's seven members that are not elected officials and 5 that are.
Councillor Babcock,
Sorry,
did you have a
6.
question?
Yeah, I have a question for you.
Mhm.
Is it the meeting that you attend that was closed session, or all their meetings are always closed session?
They mentioned towards the end of it that all of the information that they share in the meeting is under closed session.
Councillor Ford?
Yeah, just as a so I'm gonna compare the RCMP advisory committee to the mental health task force, because we're kind of the same thing. We are, the RCMP advisory committee is a not-for-profit, but not formally established, if I'm correctly in saying. But
sorry.
what
It is an established society.
it's not for profit.
It's registered under the Societies Act.
Yeah.
It's a registered society.
But out of the 11 and a half years I've been on that committee, we have never, ever, and this, we're talking crime information and people, sometimes names are thrown around the table. We have never, ever gone in closed session in that committee, ever. So I kind of see where CAO Miller's going with this.
Okay, anybody else have comment or question? A motion?
Yeah, just one more comment. I just don't like looking at this and hearing the comments from Councillor Deuce about the majority of the information is all in closed session. So if the information can't be shared with council, why are we at the table? I have to ask that question. Why are we at that table?
Right, because we cannot make a decision on something we don't know.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
if we cannot be informed, we cannot.
So like I like I like the idea of it being a formalized committee through a different municipality, but the way it's working right now, I agree, there's too many. It's not good.
Councillor Duce?
And that's why I would suggest that administration give a list of their suggestions. Cause that's what they've asked for as far as moving forward. Like I said, I haven't seen an actual agenda yet. Hopefully that will be coming here shortly since the meeting is on the 29th. So I don't know what past counselors have done. Mark Wojcik or Councillor Carr, or Deputy Mayor Carr, sorry, used to be members of this committee, so I'm not exactly sure what all was discussed or what they were planning, but personally, I can't bring the information back to council, I'm not exactly sure what the point of us sitting there is.
Ms. Parsons?
So the terms of reference, does say on the last page, it says, under confidentiality, it says the task force may receive confidential information, so meetings are closed to the public. Members are prohibited from discussing this information outside of meetings. If necessary, the council member on the task force will provide a summary of the discussions to their respective councils during a closed session. So in the.
If necessary?
I'm guessing that they just mean like all of the conversation might not be pertinent, maybe, so, you know, you might not bring every little thing back, but you might bring, you know, the relevant pertinent things back to your councils that need discussed.
But it would have to be brought back from the member, but presented to this council in a closed session.
Correct. Correct.
I propose number
Mr.
three.
Erickson,
I propose number three.
could you read the motion then, or,
I direct that administration to respectively withdraw from this task force.
Apologies, Councillor Erickson, are you making that motion or are you just, looking to have discussion on that? What's your opinion?
I'm making that motion.
Thank you. So there is a motion now on the floor by Councillor Erickson to direct administration to respectfully withdraw from the task force.
okay, any other comments, on this, motion, Councillor Ford?
Yeah, Councillor Erickson, would you take a friendly amendment to your motion and direct administration to send a letter with some of our discussion to the task force and wait for a reply before we make a decision of withdrawing?
Sure.
Kind of more along the lines of what Councillor Dew was talking about.
Sure.
Okay, so do you want to reword that, Councillor Erickson?
I direct that administration to respectfully withdraw from the task force after waiting for a reply from the committee, from the task force, is to explain what their positions are.
And I might have to massage that.
Might I suggest
I don't like
Yeah.
that wording.
She's a good wordsmith.
Yeah.
So maybe to direct administration to send a letter to the task force outlining council's concerns and questions, and await response to that letter, and then bring their response to the letter forward for further discussion and contemplation of continuation of membership.
Agreed.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. Are there any other comments or conversation around this? Councillor Newsom.
I would just like to add that, since I've only been to one meeting, I would like to attend the meeting at the end of the month just to see what type of thing they're doing. Like what type of projects are involved in, since I haven't been privy to that yet.
Sorry, do you mean before we send the letter or?
It depends on how quick the letter's coming. Are we gonna give them a date that we need their response by? Are we having another council meeting before we meet on the 29th?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't know how quickly we'll get the letter out. It might not even make it before your next meeting.
The 26th.
There we go.
Okay, so that takes care of that. Okay, Councillor Babalola, did you have a question or comment?
No, she already said, she's not sure whether the letter will be out until then. I was going to say maybe send out the letter and when it gets to the meeting, you can speak to it.
Oh,
That's a good suggestion, yeah.
okay, so there's a motion on the floor. All those in favor of the motion? And that is carried.
So we'll be speaking to the letter in closed session.
Apparently,
So-
I guess so. I'll bring back results in closed session.
Number 9, business grants program and policy, with, CA Miller.
Thank you, Mayor Shannon and councillors. The request for decision before you is regarding the current business grant program. As the policy stands, it does not clearly define that the business needs to be located within the town. Right now, it says they must have a town Peace River business license, but they could be located elsewhere, and we realized that it was the way it's worded, there's a gap that would allow Peace River taxpayers money to be funding improvements into a facility that's located outside of our municipal boundaries. So we have brought forward a slight change to the policy, and that is to ensure that they actually reside or are located within our boundaries. And otherwise, you'll just see a couple of minor grammatical or spelling things throughout that have been changed, but largely 31.3 is the new addition. It reads to be eligible for a business revitalization grant. The business must be physically located within town limits. And we're looking for adoption of this change to the policy because the new intake is about to be in.
Okay, so there you have it in front of you. Councillor Ford.
Yes, I put a motion on the floor that council adopt the amended business grant policy, program policy as presented.
Councillor Forsyth.
I just had one more question. It says in here, unless I missed something, that the EDC decides who gets approved for these grants. Should that be something the EDC brings to council, so we all have a say in that, or am I?
It is. After they decide it's brought for advocacy from the board.
Oh, right,
Yeah.
right.
Okay,
So we-
we're just reading.
we
it.
can oppose that.
Okay, yeah. Yep.
Oh, do they? Oh, I'm sorry, no, that's
No,
a
that's-
different one, that would be
EDC makes the decision.
From what I read, it seems like.
just awards it.
Maybe.
We do believe the EDC just awards it,
Well, they
those
do,
grants, they were given
I'm thinking
that,
of,
that other grant, yeah.
I'm thinking Bradford groups.
I don't know if anyone else agreed, but I don't know, that just struck me as odd.
Perhaps it could come to council to see, or I'm not sure how that could be, Councillor Deuce.
How many council members sit on that committee?
One,
Just one.
and various administration staff. So just to comment on that, I've sat on the EDC for a number of years and I've been through quite a few of the grant proposals. There is quite a bit of debate. They are graded from administration's point of view. Well, I think we do it, don't we? We're given the grid from administration to grant, like to gauge them on things like, you know, what part of town they're located in, what their type of renovation is, that sort of thing. So it's a fairly robust discussion that is had, so the EDC is a committee of council. So as far as it's regarded, it pretty much is the decision of council because they're already a committee of council. So, but I don't see any problem with it coming back for information purposes to council as to who got grants.
Councillor Ford.
Yeah, I tend to agree with Councillor Deuce, but correct me if I'm wrong, but Director Bell, when it comes to the FCSS grants, that whole process is the same as the EDC, where that board awards based on a grid, and that then once those awards come or are given, by the board, then they don't come to council for ratification, they come to council as
no.
information.
That's correct. So under the bylaw, the bylaw provides authority to that board to make some decisions based on approved budget. So once the budget is approved, they have the authority to make the award through the evaluation process. And they have a directive that guides them in that evaluation process, same as the Economic Development Committee.
But when we get the grants to groups, it comes back to council and we see what everybody has, and sometimes we make all the numbers all together and decide what goes where.
So we have many grant programs. So we have the Economic Development Business Grant opportunity. We have the council grants to organizations, and we have the FCSS grants to groups. So council makes the decisions related to the council grants to organizations program. But the other two programs are delegated to those associated committees of council.
Okay.
So you're just sort of offloading some of the work to your designated.
Trust me, it's a lot of work.
committees.
No, fair, yeah.
They do a really robust,
Yeah.
in-depth, search, yeah, it's really well
I
done.
was on the, on that FCSS one for a number of years, and it is a very robust way of making a decision.
Okay, so there's no other,
Did you vote? Was there a vote?
no other discussion on here?
No, I can-
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Councilor Ford already put the
Oh.
motion on the floor.
There we go.
Okay, all those in favor of Councillor Ford's motion? And that is carried. So we're moving on to number 10 with CAO Miller, Northern Sunrise County ICF agreement.
Thank you. Okay, so this year is a year that we will be undertaking renewal discussions on the ICF agreements with all of our partners. But in the meantime, Northern Sunrise County, their ICF agreement is a flat rate annually. And we were supposed to go into discussions, it was supposed to be renewed for 2024. And at that time, there was some thought there may be some changes to the legislation around ICF. So we were asked to hold off on the negotiations, and the county then offered 4% increase for that year and for 2025 increase. So now here we are in a year again where we need to renew the agreement, and we both have new councils that we need to educate on the agreements and start our position moving forward, which is gonna take some time. And so to try to help us on our financial side of things, Northern Sunrise County has offered to increase what they're paying us another 4% for this year. To the rate, and then we could work towards new negotiations for 2027. So the risk is, it was an agreement that was a flat rate that had no changes in it for the first 3 years. And then we took a 4% and a 4% and now another 4%. So the risk is that we could be under collecting. Once we do all the math and see where, things have brought us to this date. I would suspect we are not over collecting. But in the spirit of trying to move forward and work with our partners and be able to just have a year that we don't need to worry about it and get it into our budget and allow us time for negotiation, administration is recommending that council accept the 4% that's being offered at this time.
Does anyone have any questions for CAO Miller? If not, Councilor Forsyth.
So obviously then if we accept this year, then this year moving forward before our negotiations, we'll do an actual true cost sharing analysis, so we can go into that better prepared. That's kind of what I'm understanding.
Yes, absolutely.
Does someone want to make a motion for this Counselor Babalola.
I move that council accept a 4% increase to Northern Sunrise County's ICF agreement funding contribution for 2026. With thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? All those in favor of the motion on the floor? And that is carried. Moving on to number 11 with CAO Miller, the final municipal policing model study.
Thank you, Mayor Shannon. I'll just make this one really quick. Essentially, as you're aware, we had the municipal policing model study that was grant funded in part by the province. And we were asked to undertake that study by the province so they could evaluate the findings and perhaps find some means to support us moving forward. So the consultants presented the completed report to council, I believe first meeting in December. And now we're just asking for formal acceptance of the report. We have a redacted copy now, very few redactions, but we do have a couple. And they will, once it's been accepted for information, then we'll get this up on the website for members of the public to read through.
Okay. Those, anybody want to make a motion for that one? Councillor Deuce.
I would move that council adopt the municipal police model study completed by Blue Alliance.
All those in favor of that motion? And that is carried. Moving on to number 12. East River District Chamber of Commerce 2026 Davis Award tickets with CAO Miller.
Thank you again. So lastly, with me is around the 2026 Davis Awards. So looking for direction on purchasing of such tickets for the award. Their annual event is February 7th. In previous years, the town has purchased a table for council to attend. And if councillors wanted to bring their spouse, they provided payment. We would issue them an invoice and they would provide payment for their spouse. So there's 10 tickets at a table for a cost of $950. We would purchase another table if required or additional seating. And so we're just looking for direction if you'd like us to purchase a table and whether or not council is going to be funding or paying for the cost of spouses to attend.
Okay, any questions or comments on this one? Councillor Erickson.
I think that there's spouses should be included in the cost for that as well too. It should be these council member as well as the spouse.
Okay, any other comments or Councillor Ford?
I know when we were talking in our one meeting that we had, story of Councillor Erickson, but I'm gonna disagree. I do believe that that tickets can be provided for those council members that want to attend, but I do believe that we spoke about this. And it's not just about the Davis Awards, it could be about other events that that we cover the cost of our own spouses, whether it's an event like this, or if you're taking your spouse with you to AUMA.
Councillor Erickson?
I appreciate your comments with regard to that, but I think that on further reflection, the spouses should be included as part of that as well too. And I'm not gonna be there to attend to it in any event, but I do believe that it should be available for the person to bring the spouse as well too. You're doing work on behalf of the town, you're representing the town. I don't think it's unfair to have the spouse be accompanied as well too. For example, with Mayor Shannon, there's no reason why she can't bring Kelly with her. Or same with Councillor Forsyth, if he wants to bring his wife with him, that should be fine.
Any other comments on this note? Councillor Ford?
I'll say I totally agree, but the payment for that second ticket should come from the councillor.
I don't agree.
Okay.
Okay, well, I don't have a problem paying for my spouse's ticket, the reason why I say that is that we did have a discussion once and the comment was made that, oh, they put up with so much, you know, they probably can have a meal or whatever, but they, as well as ourselves, our spouses know what they're getting into when we signed up for this job. And I know my husband isn't expecting a free ticket. I think at some point it becomes, public service has to play a part in this gig, and I feel very strongly about that part. But it's up for discussion. Brandon Dukes.
I would tend to agree with you, Mayor Shannon. This is something that we're going to representing the town as counselors. We're there as part of a work type thing, and our spouses are just kind of along for the ride. I would have no problem paying for the ticket myself for my spouse to go.
Ms. Parsons.
I'll just comment, and I believe we covered it in the RFD, but just for clarity, typically we will purchase the table, including those spouses tickets, and have the counselors reimburse the town, just to ensure that everyone's sitting together and it's not complicated for the chamber when everyone's kind of buying tickets everywhere. So we'll get a listing of everyone who wants to, if this is how council proceeds. So if, and then get a list of everyone who wants to go purchase enough tickets and then get reimbursed so that it keeps everyone together.
Maybe when we win an award as a town, we'll pay for all the spouses to go. Councillor Ford.
Just as a straw vote, who plans on going and who plans on taking a spouse?
Well, I plan on going, and I do believe I am going to force my husband to come with me.
That's two.
Yeah, I'll be there with.
When is it, 3 or 4?
Or
4.
February 7th. I believe Councillor Carr is coming. I'm not sure if he's bringing significant other.
5 or 6,
I will most likely be there times 2.
7, 8.
It would be nice to see a good showing to the chamber when we're very close partners with them, and I think it's important that we show support. If you can make it.
I have not decided, because I will most likely be out of town, but my daughter is playing the tournament, if she finishes on time, then.
So it looks like there might be 8 of us.
8, yeah, already, including the CAO. Got a table.
Okay, so do we need a motion to?
Motion to move forward on the table. Yep. So there. Please.
Okay,
Go to.
anybody want to make that?
And the days awards.
I can make the
Okay, Councillor Babalola, thank you.
move that council direct administration to purchase a table for the 2026 Davis Awards and include the cost of councilors' buses in such purchase where requested.
So that was worded, differently than.
And the awards.
Just
We might suggest that if you just move the council direct administration to purchase a table for the 2026 Davis Awards. As discussed.
as discussed.
Thank you.
Move that council direct administration to purchase a table for the 2026 Davis Awards as discussed.
Excellent. So all those in favor of the motion on the table? And that is carried. Moving on to 9, the Protective Services Monthly Call Volume Report.
Madam Mayor, about councils, as you see the report there in the brief notes. In December, we had 60 files. Year to date is 1,176 files to go, 7 active files. We had a total of 28 tickets and 7 warning tickets issued within that month. That's my report.
Are there any questions? Councillor Deuce.
So I don't know if you have this information readily available, but are we trending higher or lower than normal compared to past years?
This would be the first year that we've done it, and compared to the way we were running things, prior was just traffic. In the previous years, but this here is covering everything, so. We'll start a trend from today and see how far, and that's working with 2 individuals for this year.
Any other questions? If not, would someone like to accept the report? Counselor Forsyth,
I'll move that council accept report 9.1 for information.
all those in favor of the motion? And that is carried. Moving on to number 10, information, council communication package. We got that on Friday. Does anybody have any questions or comments from that? Seeing none, can someone accept that for information?
So moved.
Okay, Councilor Ford has a motion on the table to accept for information. All those in favor? And that is carried. Notices of motion.
I have none.
Seeing none, we will move on to number 12. And we have someone from the public here to talk to us. Hi, Rick, move on forward here and turn on the mic and have at her.
Hi, everybody. I'm Rick Dossler. I'm a contractor in town. And everybody sees the amount of snowfall that we had this year is unbelievable. Like the month of December, I pushed more snow than I have in the past 10 years. And saying that, half of these businesses have to get their snow piles removed. And to implement what they're trying to implement here with the snow dumping, to me, is kind of ridiculous, especially since we got all these businesses paying taxes. And they're big businesses. And I heard Mr. Fisher say that they didn't want anybody dumping on the West Hill Weberville Road because he doesn't know where the snow came from. Well, it all came from the same place, up above, first of all. And why does the businesses on the West Hill have to pay extra to haul to the north end? Because that's what it's gonna be, extra costs on the businesses. When all of this right now is extra costs for everybody. I am shoveling off more roofs to help people out because of all the water issues they're having. And now we wanna do something like this. I think we should just be saying, everybody go ahead. Everybody I work for has my insurance and my WCB. When I work for the town of Peace River, they get my insurance and my WCB. I'm not working for the town of Peace River. I'm working for the businesses in the community. And 90% of them ask me for my insurance and WCB. And I have 5 million liability. Not 3 million, which I don't know where that come from, but 2 million is really the maximum. Like I tell people, there ain't a building in this town worth 5 million. And what are we gonna do? Spill some oil? Well, newsflash, where did it come from? The ground. Okay, so really, we put asphalt all over, we got oil all over, we got contaminated snow from the salt. Like, it's all over. It's everywhere. There's nothing we can do about it. So to be unfair to these businesses on the West Hill and have us haul it to the north end, 7 or 10 kilometers away when I clocked it the other day, 2 kilometers for me on the West Hill here. Like really, man, I don't get it. I think that the town of Peace River should just say, anybody needs to haul their snow, go ahead. And to worry about other communities hauling snow in our dump piles is ridiculous. Nobody's gonna wanna drive 10 or 15, 20 kilometers to dump their snow here. So I just want the town to remember, I don't know what you guys voted on because I was so disappointed that I couldn't speak before you guys voted. I think that's ridiculous. So I don't really know what you voted on because I wasn't even thinking about it. I was so upset that I couldn't speak before you guys voted. And I don't know if you voted on, you want to discuss more on it? I hope that's what you did vote.
That's what we voted. We
Okay,
voted to
good.
bring it back
Good, yeah,
for more
because really,
discussion.
I think the town of Peace River should help all these businesses and tell them, go ahead. Everybody that's on the road with a truck or a loader or a skid steer, all have their insurance. If anybody's in violation of anything, they'll get stopped by the RCMP or the bylaw officers or the peace officers and be ticketed. And to think that no hydraulic lines blow, well, that's insane, man. I bet you the town of Peace River blows hydraulic lines every day.
Not everything, but we
Okay, pretty close. I know how much equipment you got. I know how much equipment I got. I know how many lines I blow every day. But I just want you guys to think about that. Because really, all these businesses right now are hurting. Cause you know what? I haven't removed snow from any parking lot. I don't know, it's probably 15 years where we got this much snow, but it was over the whole winter, not in December alone.
1991.
Yeah, see, it was that long ago, and I feel, like, I can't even remember, and that's when I probably shoveled off roofs.
Well, I'm hoping that we'll be consulting with other people in the industry as well to bring back some changes. Go ahead, Director Fisher.
Don't get your mic, very quick, thanks. I just want to be clear, I agree, we need to be doing something for the businesses. This is a way for me to say yes, while making sure that the town is covering our butts. I almost said a bad word, I'm sorry for that. I'm getting better, look at me go. So this is a way of me finding a way to say yes, right? In the absence of asking for this information to use or dump and all of those things, it gets more complicated. I have to control access, I have to control hours, I have to basically police it as more than I am right now.
But yet up to this point, we have never, ever had to do that.
Well, we have, I definitely have had to respond to illegal dumping calls before, when I've been here in my tenure. And Mr. Dossler's right, the hydraulic lines do break, that's why I'm asking for this information, so if there is a spill and it doesn't get cleaned up appropriately. I'm putting a lot of trust that the people using the dump will clean it up and respond appropriately and report it to us to let us know that something's happened. But if it doesn't and it becomes an issue, then the response is that we don't do this as a service and it causes some other frictions.
Okay, well, thank you, Rick. That was awesome that you came and let us know how you feel.
Okay.
You're very good at that.
And you know, while I was sitting here just a few minutes ago, I got another text from a guy who wants me to remove snow. So I mean, I don't know which place he wants me to remove it, but really, everybody is almost having to get it done. No frills. I mean, Western Budget, they're probably all right, but I mean, but we just shoveled off their roof today, so I mean, there's a whole nother pile of snow in their backyard, like, I mean, I don't even know, our guys, my guys, we had 1 day off since December 1st. 1 day. My guys are getting 200 hours in 2 weeks. That's how busy we are. Like, I gotta go out and sand and salt tonight. Like, usually I'm getting home at 2 or 3 in the morning. I mean, my wife is not happy. She's telling me to quit. Like, honestly, and I said I can't quit because people are relying on us right now. Like, people are in pickles and.
Jeff has a question.
Just curious, your biggest concern here, is it the fact that you need to dump in the northern location, or is it the fact that you need an authorization letter?
No, it's the fact that it is gonna double the cost of these businesses for me to haul it to the north end instead of up Weberville Road 2 kilometers away. I'm gonna be waiting for trucks. I can't hire like the town does and hire 30 trucks. Like, I mean, maybe I get 1 or 2 trucks.
Yeah, I
And
just
that's
wanted to be clear if your concern was the fact that you need the letter or if it's.
No, like,
The location.
it doesn't bother me. Like I said, I got 5 million liability. I have WCB. I have that because I worked for the town of Peace River numerous times. Numerous.
Councilor Erickson.
I'd like to know how soon you'd like to have an answer.
Well, I'd like an answer right now because I got people asking to remove their snow now. I got a gravel trucks and stuff lined up for tomorrow.
Well, as it sits right now, Director Fisher, as it sits right now, there is no policy on this then?
Correct. There is no policy.
Like, I don't wanna break any rules or anything, but I mean, to me, it seems like the town is breaking environmental rules by dumping on the West Hill. So if the town can do it, oh, hey, I'm up for it. You know, I'm just being honest here.
Okay, well, the administration is going to bring the policy back to us, so it's not approved or anything yet, and we'll have time to take more opinions.
So are you saying I can remove snow tomorrow or?
For that purpose, I would recommend you send an email to our public works.
You're asking me to send an email?
Or Come by the shop tomorrow afternoon and talk to Sunday. He's got a list of information and he's kind of tracking my approvals of who can use what. Right now,
He's up at the,
at the shop, yeah.
okay,
And right now we are directing people to use the north end snow dump right now, and I know it's frustrating. I'm working on expanding it so that we can do.
I mean, I get it, if it's too soft in there, we can't drive in there, I mean, we're gonna have to wait till it freezes, but.
It's okay today, but yeah. End of the week, right?
Okay.
7 degrees over right now.
It's,
Okay, so Mr. Dostler, you'll go and speak to Public Works?
Yep.
Okay,
you bet,
and then we'll bring the policy back. Thank you very much for coming
Okay.
forward.
no problem,
Thank you.
thank you.
Moving on to number 13, closed session. There are nothing in closed session. And so we will move on to adjournment. Councillor Deuce,
I move that council adjourn the meeting at 7:54.
all in favor of that motion? Awesome, carried. There goes the first meeting of 2026. Thank you and see you next week.
Oh, we gotta end the web.
That's fine.
Hmm.